What happens when a person becomes so addicted to control that their own nervous system begins to experience powerlessness as a threat? This is where the psychological and spiritual layers of narcissistic behavior can intersect. A narcissistic personality structure can become organized around external validation, dominance, entitlement, and control. Instead of developing the internal capacity to regulate shame, insecurity, rejection, or loss of status, the person may continually look outward for something or someone to regulate them. And when control works, they feel powerful, but when control fails, the entire internal system can become destabilized. The person they expected to intimidate doesn't react. The person they expected to chase them walks away. The person they expected to manipulate becomes emotionally detached. And suddenly, the narcissist encounters something they cannot manipulate, another person's autonomy. Psychologically, this can produce escalating attempts to regain control, provocation, blame shifting, projection, intimidation, triangulation, or attempts to pull the other person back into the emotional cycle. Spiritually, you could describe this as an oppressive state of being, a consciousness increasingly organized around fear, domination, resentment, and resistance to reality. But here's where the dynamic with the so-called chosen ones becomes fascinating. The person who refuses to surrender their autonomy becomes a mirror, not because they're attacking the narcissist, but because they're not participating in the narcissist's reality. The narcissist says, react. The chosen one says, I choose my response. The narcissist says, fear me. The chosen one says, I don't need to enter your emotional theater. The narcissist says, I define your worth. The chosen one says, you don't possess that authority. And that is the psychological boundary the narcissistic system struggles with most. You cannot control someone who no longer needs your approval, validation, or permission to exist. But here's the deeper lesson. Don't confuse someone's psychological deterioration with supernatural punishment. The real transformation happens inside you. You stop obsessing over what they're doing. You stop trying to expose every contradiction. You stop feeding every provocation. You stop allowing another person's dysregulation to become your identity. You reclaim your attention. You reclaim your nervous system. You reclaim your choices. And spiritually, that is sovereignty, because the ultimate victory isn't watching another person collapse. It's becoming so internally anchored that their attempts to control you no longer determine who you become. The most powerful form of resistance isn't always confrontation. Sometimes it's refusing to surrender your attention, identity, emotional regulation, or autonomy to someone else's need for control. If you've ever experienced someone becoming more controlling when you became less reactive, comment sovereign and share this with someone who needs the reminder. Your autonomy is not negotiable, and that's Alchemy.In.Motion. Drop a comment below if you've witnessed the delusion of dominance during these encounters. Be sure to like, share, and follow your tribe of alchemists.